consultant. I'm expanding my expertise. So, I create programs, I create curriculum, I create media. So I'm expanding. This is what I'm going to get to work on this next coming week, is working on my resume. So today in this self-accountability, talking about, taking care of ourselves and what do we need and not feeling stuck, so that's what we're doing. So this week we've talked about different things. I'm waiting for people to come on, so we'll go over this again. But here's the thing that, a few things that I can put out here, because this will be on replay. And for those who rewatch it, these are things that we can ask ourselves, or ponder. So in our pondering, so Monday we talked about, what am I defending? Because a lot of times we don't take self-accountability because we're always running. I talked last week about running from and running to. What are we running from and running to? But this defense, a lot of us wake up ready to defend the day without even realizing that that's what we're doing. And then Wednesday, we talked about the lies beneath the whys. Is a lot of times when we say, why did I do that? First thing is negative self-dialogue, which you may still keep associating with the past experience, and a lie. Hello, a lie that was in your past. So while we're waiting on people to come on, I'm kind of just getting warmed up and seeing where our dialogue's going to go this evening. So the real thing is that you can be right. And John London, I missed you. How are you doing? It's good to see you this evening. Were you able to catch up and see where we're at? You know me, I'm always going to, talk about it again. But we did get to talk about the lies beneath the whys, because a lot of times when we're having this self-accountability, and also think about Sunday I'll be here, but what we're going to talk about next week. So if you have a topic, John London, that you would like to see us talk about next week, then let me know. Because, I really value everyone's input. And I believe that there's a collective that we all struggle with a lot of the same things, And so, let me know if you have something that you would like me to discuss next week. So Epic wanted me to talk about self-accountability this week. And well, not no one, that's ridiculous, but John London, you're feeling a bit, I'm sorry. I'm glad that you're here. We'll see how long you're able to stay awake with us, right? Did you have to take any medicine that could knock you out? I hope you get to feeling better. So I'm glad that you're here. So the thing is we can be right in this self-accountability, but still not be free, right? Still not feel free. A lot of people their nervous system is geared to, I need to be right. There's a fear of not being right. So have you ever noticed how much energy that we spend trying to prove, it's just a very sore throat and runny nose? Oh, well, I'm sorry about that. Did you have to take anything for it? Benadryl? Oh, no, not COVID. I hate that because it seems like with COVID, it's so hard to shake. The last time I think I got one of those strands of COVID, I was actually, in Spain, going to Spain and in Spain, because one of my friends kept telling me, I'm not contagious. I'm not contagious. And then the day I'm leaving, I'm like, what is going on? So I feel for you. But it seems like I got this cough with it that took forever to get rid of. No medicines, but oh my goodness. Well, I hope that this is whatever we say tonight is going to be beneficial and help you. If you think of anything that you want for the topic next week, please let me know. Hello, Daniel Farkas. So, and thank you for being here, John London, even though you're not feeling so good. I hope you don't have COVID. So have you ever noticed how much time we spend trying to prove we're right? Like I said, sometimes people get up in the morning and maybe don't even realize that they already feel like they have to defend their day, that I'm going to go into the office and they're going to say this and they're going to do this. And we start preparing for the day like that. And it's us already trying to prepare for our arguments and the defenses and all of this. So we talked earlier about what are you defending on Monday night. So when we're defending, we want to be right. We're trying not to be wrong, right? So sometimes we may be right about our past, right about why we reacted, right about why someone hurt us, right about why we can't change. We can't change. We may think I can't change. But what if freedom isn't found in proving that you're right? What if freedom begins when we begin being willing to be honest? That's where freedom is. So we talked about that's the first step, is getting honest with ourselves, because those lies, the lies beneath the whys, is that a lot of times we don't realize when we think, I'm just running all the time. Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, because a lot of people don't wake up and think, what can I think about self-accountability today? But the reality is with the way that the world is going on today, self-accountability is a very good topic, because we see the leaders of our worlds arguing and not taking self-accountability. A lot of people don't take self-accountability. They blame someone else. And so self-accountability is not about blaming. This is where we stand in our power, because we can't blame other people and still stand in our power. So freedom begins when we get willing to be honest, So that's what self-accountability has taught me. Not that I have to blame myself, not that everything is my fault. That doesn't mean everything is our fault, taking self-accountability, but that I get to ask a different question. Who's responsible? I get to be responsible for what's mine. It doesn't mean that the other person didn't do something. We talked, about the tit for tat and this for that, and people saying, you made me behave in a certain way. And the thing is when I take self-accountability, I'm going to behave how I behave. And when I realize that I behave how I behave, I can understand that people are behaving in the way that they behave and not think that it's about me and trying to be superior. Because when we're trying to be right about everything all the time, maybe we need this, without saying it, I need to feel superior. And we don't say that, but what if that's a learned behavior that we had, and we can unlearn those learned behaviors? So I can ask, what is mine? When I get into an argument with somebody, what is mine to own? So easy to be stuck on autopilot, one-track mind, and the external wake-up call might not come or might not effectively change us enough to try a new route. I know, right? And it's so easy to fall back into those old things without having accountability, without having people that we can be honest with and talk about our craziness, because we are human beings. And the reality is that as human beings, sometimes we do have crazy thoughts, and sometimes we do, want things to be our way. And so we may make up a story when things don't go our way. So we talked also about making things up. I don't know if I write so much content, I can't remember which is which. That's why I have notes. Last night I had a meeting on Zoom with group coaching, and with that content, it's like, which notes go where? So I kind of get to combine them all by the end of the week. So the moment I can own what's mine, though, the good thing about knowing what is yours to own is you can quit giving your power away, because we can go back and forth with these mixed feelings. A lot of people were brought up with adults or what have you in these mixed feelings. It's when we say, I'm hoping for the best but expecting the worst. That's not empowering. That's sending mixed feelings, mixed signals. So sometimes we send ourselves mixed signals because maybe our thoughts were dismissed and our feelings were discarded. And so we may be trying to get approval and things from other people, but that's not self-accountability. Self-accountability is knowing what's mine, the good, bad, and ugly, like I have been talking about. So I stop waiting for someone else to change before I can have peace. That's what self-accountability is. I've talked about how maybe on a Friday night 15, 20 years ago, I was supposed to go out with somebody and they didn't call, they didn't say anything. And so I was hungry because I was waiting, and somebody asked me, Stacy, are you hungry? And I said, yeah. And they said, well, Stacy, go eat something. And so I talked last week about that victimhood, that victim mentality. So sometimes we don't have self-accountability when we have a victim mentality and we're giving our power away. You ever get into an argument and think it's finished, and something is said, draws you back in? This topic really feels like that for me. Sometimes, yeah, I have been. And there's some people who are committed to misunderstanding us. And so they will, that reason for that is trying to take your power away. Because there are people who do want to take your power away. There are people who are boundary hunters. You can set a boundary and they will still, good evening, George. I hope you have a beautiful weekend too. Thank you. Hey, Riley Foster. Hello. Super perfect cell. Okay. Congratulations. So, self-accountability is one of the best gifts that we can give ourselves, and that freedom. And yes, John London, that's why we talk about it sometimes, because it's easy to fall back, because self-trust is about us trusting ourselves. The self-trust begins with self-esteem begins with self-accountability, but it doesn't mean that you don't care about other people. It means that we just don't give our power to other people, is what that means. So we talked about, I really try to stand in my power in those situations. Sometimes silence, yes, because when people are, silence is the best answer. When people are committed to misunderstanding you, and there are some people who just want that argument and just want to continue to prove that they're right? So those people are not, it doesn't matter what you say, they're not going to hear you. Even if you're not even trying to be right, you might just be trying to defend yourself, and they're committed to not hearing you. Sometimes the answer does come in silence. That's where I find my best answers, is in silence, is I have to think about and process things sometimes. That's why we do that breathing at the end, because if I can breathe and process, it's like sometimes I just get that spark of, that's the answer, right? Not looking to somebody else for all my answers, but only I can know what the right answer for me is. I don't need a poll of the right answers for me, because only I can know the right answers for me. Is that Kim or Pam? Who's giving me some hearts? I like some hearts. All right. So we talked about getting honest with ourselves, and we looked at some of the things we might not have been comfortable with last week when we discussed what am I running from and what I'm running to. I also talked this week about, are you feeling it to heal it? Are you feeling it to heal it? Meaning FILLING, feeling it to heal it. Are you feeling it to heal it? FEELING. Oh, thank you, George John London, 100%. I cut my hair last night, John London. Thank you for noticing. I sure did. I just decided, I think I need to cut my hair. So I did. I cut my hair last night. We're in training. You know how it is when you first cut your hair. Now I have to train it. So thank you that you said it looks nice. I did. I cut it last night. Thank you for noticing. Yeah. So, knowing what we're running from and running to. So looking at the things above enables us to stop running. When we ask these questions of ourselves, rather than trying to get approval or get answers outside of ourselves, we get to stay still, be silent, like was said by John London. Be still, stay silent, and then we have the right answers. Hello, beautiful mama, how are you? So we stop running from our old beliefs that no longer serve us, our central nervous system that's running our survival skills without us knowing. Hey, Salma, what is the reason behind chronic anxiety? My mind keeps telling me it's going to end 24/7. I feel like this is a serious disorder. Well, I'm not a therapist, Salma. I'll first off say that. So I really, don't have expertise in disorders. But I am a coach and a counselor, and so your mind keeps telling you. So your mind, if you slow down, have you tried breathing exercises, Selma? Because a lot of times with this chronic anxiety, that's one of the first things is that they teach us some breathing exercises. Like for me, I don't use drugs at all, so I have to do breathing exercises. But the more breathing exercises that I've done, the less I get anxious about things, because I start learning that things are going to pass. It will pass. Are you like me? When I get my hair cut, I go back to it the next day and maybe one. Yes, yeah. And I have my own scissors. So, yeah, if I see something, I'll be like, and I'll snip it, So, down here, it's so humid and things that I can't really fix my hair so much. That's why I cut my hair and all of this, because nobody cares about my hair down here. We're just lucky if we're not smelling and stinking with sweat, and down here in Mexico. So you kind of get that beach. I'm by the beach, so you're going to get a beach look, the humidity and all of this. So it is what it is. So yeah, thank you, John London. So when we're, able to understand that we're running, do you feel like Salma, that you feel like you're running? And do you, this breathing will help you to stop running, because sometimes that running is us not feeling safe. And it doesn't mean that you feel like someone's going to, chop off your head or what have you, but that feeling of safety, try not to have to defend yourself. A lot of times that's what keeps people running, is that fear that I have to defend myself, that we're in some kind of video game or something like that a fireball is going to hit you, So I'm curious to know about that, Salma. So looking at those things about us, to stop running from the old beliefs that no longer serve us and slowing our central nervous system down, because some of us just have a fast central nervous system. It could be from trauma that is cellular. If your parents experienced trauma, it can be cellular, and they may have been anxious. I believe people, even when somebody's pregnant with somebody, I tried to be really calm during my pregnancies because I didn't want my children to be anxious, So, yeah. So we stop running from old beliefs that no longer serve us, in our central nervous system that's running our survival skills, because we can pick up these survival skills, but no one says, oh, I'm running on my survival skills today. Have you ever heard anybody say, I'm running on my survival skills today? I'm people pleasing because that's my survival skills. I'm arguing with people because I'm afraid to be wrong, and that's my survival skills. Leo Lee, you ever feel like you're just surviving, just breathing, but not living, and you don't know what makes you happy anymore? Yes, Leo Lee, I do know what that feels like. That's why I get on here, because I used to feel that way myself. Sometimes you just feel like a robot, right? And I have done that. I have felt like a robot. I'm just going to work. I'm going to home. Even if I went to party and was trying to have fun, it'd be like still feeling numb, back in my youth and things. I would still just feel numb, because I just was talking about, are you feeling it to heal it? Meaning FILLING. Sometimes even going to extremes and excesses, don't feel that hole in the soul, because sometimes it's a hole in the soul type thing. We don't know what will make us happy. If our feelings were dismissed and if our thoughts were dismissed and our feelings were discarded, we don't know sometimes. We didn't get how do I say that? Zaid Eunice. So sometimes we just don't know. And it's about an adventure. That's what I love, is the adventure. But adventures at first are scary. So I don't know if that was helpful. Yes, feeling it or feeling it. A lot of people are feeling it to heal it. And that means excess of food, excess of shopping, excess of alcohol, excess of whatever. They need to feel it, because that central nervous system or that running from and running to is just feeling it. But the reality is that we have to feel it to heal it. And so y'all know I have that feeling wheel. So I talked about on Wednesday, I believe, the feelings underneath the feelings, is that, when we look at a feeling, when we look at those lies beneath the whys, there's feelings underneath feelings, compound, because we are so multifaceted and multidimensional. And I think I get to that. I think that is this one. Because like I said, my notes get to running together. I can't remember which notes. They don't run together because I did something last night on the Zoom. Salma, also, ma'am, I'm having massive withdrawal symptoms from not being on my anxiety medication. Is it a warning sign that I've developed a massive dependency on it? You might need that anxiety medication. I don't know what your chemical imbalance is. This is why I say I'm not a doctor. Oh, no, it's all right, Salman. But a doctor would be able to tell you, because sometimes I was just talking to somebody, I know somebody who needed to have for the neurotransmitters. And so sometimes we do have neurotransmitters that, may be wired different. And sometimes, so definitely seek a doctor. So I'm not a doctor. I do know how to calm anxiety as far as emotions and what are thoughts, but I don't know about chemical imbalances in bodies. And sometimes people get anxiety medicine, and people just slap anxiety medicine on it. And sometimes people legitimately need anxiety medicine, and I can't tell from being here which you really need. If you've had trauma, you might just have issues with your central nervous system that healing it and feeling it to heal it can help. But it could be neurological too. I don't know. And see, that's the thing is, I was talking about this. I've talked about this week, about when we say things. This is the part of the feeling it, John London, the feeling it, is when we say, this is getting on my nerves. And so usually what do we do when we say, this is getting on my nerves? We grab for something outside of ourselves, right? We don't usually say, I'm going to explore, why is this getting on my nerves? We don't usually say that. We usually say, I'm going to have a cigarette. This is getting on my nerves. Or we say, not mama. My mama don't smoke anymore. Or we say, I'm going to have a drink. This is just getting on my nerves. So this is acknowledging that we're feeling it and not feeling it, because we're distracting ourselves from whatever it is getting on our nerves. And your nerves are your neural pathways. All of this is wired together. Leo Lee, by the way, and depression meds have a side effect to make you more depressed. Isn't that wild? Yeah, I've had to have antidepressants before. Good day, Viola. How are you, darling? Or good evening, wherever you're. Salma, what about hormonal imbalance, ma'am? Being in poor health, can it contribute towards cognitive decline and mental health? Yes. Hormonal imbalances can. Sometimes anxieties start with diet in the gut. I found kefir yogurt is helping. Oh, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that, John London. Yeah. Are you getting you're in the live now though, Viola? My notes got messed up here. Okay. So yes, it is. The things that you put in your body, you've stopped taking care of. Oh no, Selma, maybe you need the antidepressants. I've been on antidepressants twice. The first time was when I got divorced, because I had 2 little kids and I was overwhelmed and trying to figure out how to run a household by myself with 2 kids and try to take care of them and try to work and start life over. As a single mom, I was very overwhelmed, so I needed antidepressants because I was crying. Mental health is all part of your mind, and it's like a dream when you realize you're dreaming and you gain control and just have to take control. Yes, and to go back to what John London was saying, the yogurt, that kind of stuff is good because you have a gut brain that's always communicating with your brain through your that amygdala runs up and down your body, and it's kind of like the tree of life. And I won't get into the chakras. That's what I ended up with last night. I might get into the chakras. I can't remember if I put notes on that here. Sama, I've stopped going outside. Oh, going outside is so important, Sama, because going outside, that's what's real. Is in this world, some of the things that we don't know if it's real or it's not real can cause anxiety. But when you go outside, that's real. Aw, yeah, it sounds like you're terribly depressed, Salma. I would see a doctor about depression. And also have your hormones checked, have your chemical levels checked. They definitely take the edge off for many, absolutely. And then I had to go on antidepressants 4 years after I lost my son because the grief. Grief doesn't make appointments. And I don't know if you have grief, Salma, but grief doesn't make appointments. And grief just shows up in depression. That's, grief and depression go together. And so 4 years when I started realizing this child is really gone, because sometimes it comes in different levels and layers. And so I was crying so much that I got a fever blister on my face, and I don't even get those fever blisters, you know. And so my vanity's like, you got to get some antidepressants, Stacy. And so I was on them for about a year and a half or so, you know. You don't have to stay on them forever, but sometimes it does help to help you take the edge off of what you're going through and growing through. Viola. Yes, you're so sweet. JR, hello. All right. But two, to know your body. This is what I try to get on here and help y'all do too, because I have to get to know my body, that gut brain, that to know in our body is so magnificent. We are so multifaceted and dimensional, and I'm getting there, okay? So let me look at my notes a minute. So our central nervous system that's running our survival skills and the power of all that comes from the ego. And a lot of people think the ego is bad, but the ego isn't all bad. But this is to get to know, once again, our body and ourselves. Because is the ego actually in the body? A lot of people think the ego is in your mind. But again, we're communicating with our body because you're human beings and your human doings at the same time. And this is like chakra talk, but you know, we're human beings and human doings. So when we're being, that is when we're sitting still, we're breathing, we're remembering who we are, we have recall. But human doings is when we feel like those robots, Leo Lee. We must be willing to let go of the life we plan so as to have the life that is waiting for us. And if we chase the things we'll never get the stuff we need. Yes, and that's a part of grief process too, Leo Lee. Is sometimes we have to grieve those lives that we wish we would have had. Salma, wholeheartedly believe in the end. Oh, no, Salma, no. Get yourself to a doctor and have your hormones checked and have, your receptors checked. Because also, I don't know how old you are. You said something about age. And so these things do fare with you. But you deserve to be here. Yeah, John London, hope you get the help you need going outside. Even 10 minutes a day. I may be guiding us through Reiki tonight if y'all stay on here, when we get to the end, kind of get you a guidance. And when I do this, is that I connect us with nature because we are a part of nature. And that's why it's so important to get out in nature, because that's real. So ego is perceived threat. Ego helps you in perceived threat. But the perceived threat sometimes is overdrive, not just a perceived threat. Like if you're going to get hit by a car, then your central nervous system is good because ego is connected with your central nervous system, where they say that it is chakra-wise in your body. Because chakra-wise, they say it's at your solar plexus, which is in the center of your digestive system, your respiratory system, and your cardiovascular system. So this is your central nervous system that's running you into flight, fight, and freeze. And certainly if we feel like we're fighting all the time, and it doesn't necessarily have to be with other people, it can be running that race against ourselves, seeming like, and feeling like that's where a lot of times we get that idea in our head, that negative dialogue that feels like we're not good enough because it seems like we're never going to hit the finish line. But the reality is we won't if we think we won't, but we have to learn how to slow down. Salma, get some help, okay? I wish that I could help you more through this computer. Yeah, never quit. Try those antidepressants. Yeah. Go to the doctor, get yourself checked out because you deserve to be here. And I'm glad that you're here tonight. So stay here and we'll do some breathing and maybe the chakra balance, and we'll put you back in your body a little bit because sometimes our minds can feel like they're going to explode. Okay, good. Viola, Salam, try and come to these sessions. Go out for, set small targets and have routine and avoid past things that hurt you. Yeah, healing them. So we have uncovered the liabilities. And when I said liabilities, the way that I wrote this is LIE, abilities. And I'll explain this because I think we are going to do, y'all want to do chakras tonight? Just a little bit of the chakra thing. Mom loves the chakra balance, and I actually get to get my hands on my mom and balance chakras. So, but I do chakra balancing online too. So these are the stories that we tell ourselves that no longer serves us. Those liabilities, L-I-E, abilities. Selma, I'm glad you're going to go to therapy. I'm glad that you were here to speak to us. I hope you'll hang in here and, keep listening, okay? Because I hope that something I say tonight's going to help you. Yeah, it does sound great. So, thank you, John London. I will do the chakras. I have to close Grinch's cage to do it because he has control issues. He'll come out here trying to bite my hands as I'm guiding us through this. So self-accountability may have looked scary when we began, and we may have not thought that we would take a deeper level to forgive ourselves, because that's the thing. Is when we're trying to defend ourselves, there's usually something underneath that we can forgive ourselves for, if nothing else, giving someone else power over us. So we forgive ourselves for all the lies that we tell ourselves. For all the lies we tell ourselves, because sometimes we tell ourselves lies, like I'm not good enough, like I don't deserve to be here. Like, I don't know what Sama you're telling yourself, but these lies we tell ourselves because that's not true, because you were born to be here. You were born not worrying about a lot of the things that we worry about now. So getting back to our childlike state, but it takes forgiveness of this, what happened to us. Base Rocky. Okay, Base Rocky, we don't talk about politics, religion, my age, or dating status on here, but you're welcome to stay if you want to stay on the subject, okay? All right, thank you. But I'm going to have to put you out if you keep talking politics and all of that, okay? I know, right? Right? We'll see if Base wants to stay and listen, or if Base is just trying to get an audience somewhere. He'll have to go somewhere else because we're not doing that. I know. I don't know if Kim's here this evening. Okay, Salma, you take care of yourself. Breathe, darling, okay? Just hold it and release. This will help you feel safe. Try it. Try it. So self-accountability may look scary at first, like I was saying. So I have this book. This book here is called People of the Lie. You would be surprised at how many people, and see what this tells us in this book is that sometimes, and if we look at this thing, Santa Claus, and things like this, we've been told lies all of our life. By Salma, you take care of yourself, okay? Breathe, darling. Thank you. I'll be back on Sunday. Thank you. All right. Nuh-uh. That bad boy's going in timeout for 24 hours. 24 hours. I ain't playing. All right. So a lot of us are afraid of being betrayed by lies. Hello, Lola, Luna. It's good to see you. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. So we're talking about that self-accountability. So, and some of us are afraid of being betrayed by lies. We sometimes, as part of the central nervous system, is looking for feeling like everybody's lying to us. We may think that, and people have lied to us. We've all been lied to. And so sometimes our central nervous system is just afraid of being betrayed again, And we can't run that way. We have to heal that part of us that pain caused us when we have been betrayed, when we have been told those lies, and quit assuming. That's what last night's talk was about, was assumption. 24 hours for them to hold themselves accountable. Exactly, because I'm not trying to talk about all that up in here, and I don't even want it flashing along the screen. Thank you, G's Jaded Wasteds. How are you this evening? It's good to see you. We're talking about self-accountability. I know, darling, they were hollering for you. They're like, Kim, but it's only one. I only had to put one out, but they were like, Kim, where's Kim at? So we're glad you're here. You were in the hospital. Oh no. Are you okay, Luna? John London's not feeling well tonight, and you've been in the hospital. I just had a client earlier tonight, and she had a friend that was in the hospital. It's crazy. So a lot of us are afraid of being betrayed, and betrayed by lies. And of course we hate them. And I can tell you that when I began getting my chakras balanced for the first few years, my chakra that was closed quite a bit was this is your truth chakra right here. And let me explain this, because everything that we see with our eyes, hear with our ears, and smell with our nose, and taste and touch and say with our mouth, all of that releases hormones. So Salma's not here, but it releases hormones or chemicals down here. And that's from our perceptions. So our perceptions, it also comes from our memory in the back of our mind. So this is where the chakras come in. Because a lot of this stuff, we perceive it like, okay, I've got data on this. Every time we see something or something's with our objective senses, it gives us data. And that data has chemical release. The throat, yeah, that's the throat, the one I was. So I'll explain it. It did for a long time because I was telling myself lies, the lies that I'm not good enough, the lies, that I'm not as interesting as other people, the lies that whatever lies I was telling myself. And I was telling myself these lies, and sometimes I didn't even know. So somebody said in the other evening, don't even know I'm lying, because sometimes we don't even know, and sometimes we don't know our truth, the magnificence of who we are, because we have it all in us, anything that we have the fears in us, and we also have the magnificence in us, the love. So that was my truth chakra. Should always get to my truth chakra and should be like, I wonder what's going on there. And it was just that I didn't even know my own truth. A lot of times, John London, I suspect that that's the same for you, is that knowing our own truth, the magnificence, because sometimes we doubt ourselves. Grinchy's not doubting Grinch's self. Akash Business Review. How can I improve my American accent, bro? I don't know. America even has a bunch of different accents. I'm from Texas. I have a Texas accent. So the lies that I told myself, and the fact that I didn't even know my truth, and the goodness of my truth, the goodness, and the fact that I am enough, the fact that we're enough. Sometimes that's the lies. These are the lies underneath our whys, the liabilities. So now after taking this dive, geez, jaded, wasted. Okay. Let me see, Lo. I did. You said you were in the hospital. I asked what for. Is that what you're asking me about? Because I asked what were you in the hospital about. Oh, you lost a lot of blood. You did answer. I didn't see it. I'm sorry. You're okay, but you lost a lot of blood. I hate to hear that. I hope that, did they give you some more blood? Now I see. Did they give you some more blood? I hope that you're all right. Anemia? You didn't have it. Did you have an accident? Now after you're taking this dive, have there been lies that you have realized? Like, do you realize these lies that we tell to ourselves? Sometimes we don't even realize that. It's negative self-dialogue. Hello, Joseph Leon. So there are amazing people here, and some have started and began the healing adventure and read literature, like People of the Lie. Let me turn the book and let's see what page comes up. So it says in this one, I thought that I said Lola or Luna, because I think she goes by Luna too. That may be somebody else. Joseph Leon, we're all sinners, darling. So the man who made a pact with the devil. So somebody says, this therapist was talking to him. He says, you're evading. I confronted him. There must be a reason. And the person says, well, I guess the only reason is that you read a lot about these weird cults that worship Satan, like some of those far out groups in San Francisco. There's a lot in the papers about these days. And he says, that's true. But what brought that to your mind? Why did you suddenly think about it this morning, right now, this particular session? How should I know? This patient asked. He appeared annoyed. It just came to mind. So this is the thing, is that we can have, that's exactly right, John London. That's exactly right. We can have all this data going on in our mind. And like I say, it's back here, your amygdala. You know, there's also, we got a trash disposal in our mind that's supposed to get rid of this. So this is why chakra balancing is very good also. Thank you. Kim's had it done too online. So having our chakras balanced is hopefully it'll make sense. We did it last night, right, didn't we, Kim? Because Kim was in my group last night. So I told him, I think I was supposed to be doing this tomorrow night, but we ended up doing it last night because I get all the notes confused. So anyway, that was just that book. Nope, what? Are you being sarcastic? So there's some, okay, so is there someone here that this reinforces either what they know or want to add something to the growing? You know, okay, Joseph Leon, I'll pray for you and we'll pray for us. Lola Luna, let me see. You were bleeding was the last comment, and I asked if you had an accident. So I don't think you answered if you had an accident. Shadian, how are you? God bless you too. Thank you. Thanks for the hearts, y'all. So the important thing is that you see yourself. You know, I oftentimes suggest to the clients to look in the mirror and say, I am good enough. Get closer. Get to where you only see the pupil of your eyes, the windows to the soul. Because when that's all that you see, you let go of your self-image. You let go of that negative self-dialogue that says, you know, because a lot of times people want to argue with themselves about telling themselves they're good enough. You get rid of all of that by looking in the window of your soul and retraining your neural pathway and imprint. So it always makes my heart happy when I see in the comments that what we do here is helpful, because we do got a great community here. So there's so much wisdom and love and support here. And I also love the participation, the great questions asked and the points raised and the wonderful moderators. And for those, you know, so anyway, I talk about self-love, self-esteem, self-worth, and now we talked about self-accountability, which is a part in how we get there, and the freedom of being ourselves. Ramon, the nope was you? Oh. John London, I love my eyes and gazing in the mirror. Good, good. Because it does help. You know, when I did sit there and I had the negative self-dialogue, it's good to see you, Ramon. When I had the negative self-dialogue and was thinking other people were more interesting than me, I had to learn to get in that mirror and tell myself, I am good enough. I am good enough. I am good enough. And imprint, you know, and it does help. So then the next time when I was sitting at that table with somebody and thinking this person's more interesting, I could tell myself I am good enough while this is happening. So then I could focus my attention on the fact that just because somebody else is interesting doesn't mean that I'm not. Does anybody else struggle with that in this room? I don't anymore, because that really did help. That really did help me. So that was rewiring my mind to where I'm not thinking that, you know, that way. But that was a way that I thought at one time. Are you just talking, Grinchy? Okay, thank you, Joseph Leon. So in talking about this love, you know, it's learning to see yourself clearly and know your own compatibility with yourself, that you don't have to measure up to everybody else. Your compatibility with yourself, because when you know your compatibility with yourself, what I love about myself, what I don't like about myself, because we can improve whatever it is we don't like, or we can accept it and be like, well, you know, whatever it is, because there's a lot of it's it could be. But love and acceptance first needs to come with the self along with forgiveness, and then you can feel comfortable setting your boundaries. Lola, did you answer me? I don't even know. I'm looking back. Luna. Yeah, Luna. I knew that. see, I think I have another Lola in here, but I called you Luna one time. I did, because I know that, so it's 1003 is the Luna one, because there's somebody else who has Lola in here too. But I didn't get to see your answer to if you had an accident or not. Luna, yes. I thought that was you. Hello, Dennis. I'll write it down again, because I did write it down, but now I need to write it down 1003. Lola, Luna is 1003. Lola, okay. Now I remember. So, self-esteem is in recognizing your skills. You know, just because somebody else is interesting, just because somebody else can do something, just because somebody else does this doesn't mean, thank you, Dennis, just doesn't mean that that takes away from you. This place is, see, this is when we're thinking in limitation, lack and limitation. And when we don't think in lack and limitation, we realize this place is a big, beautiful place. Luna, self. Yes. So getting to know ourself. Self-harm. Self-esteem is, I got this. Sometimes we don't got this, though, and we need to get by with a little help from our friends. I know I get by with a little help from my friends. So self-esteem and recognizing your skills and gifts, even if they were performed for someone else. See, even if they were performed for somebody else, half the time we're performing for other people, and unless we get the recognition from them, we don't think well of ourselves. But the thing is knowing that I did this. You still did it, even if you did it for somebody else. Dennis, we don't talk about politics. We don't talk about religion. We don't talk about my age or my dating status on here. Red Dragon, asking for help does not make us look weak. That's an old tape, darling. That's an old tape. It doesn't make us look weak. In fact, we will be weak if we don't learn to ask for help. We will be weak because we're going to dwindle up and be all alone and, asking for help. And that makes us unified, because there are people who can do things better than me and I need their help. And then there's things that I can do that people need my help. This is unity and community, and that's what we create here, right? So self-esteem is recognizing your skills and gifts. Even if they're performed for somebody else, they are yours. And when you recognize them, you'll feel accomplished and know that you can achieve for you too, that you can achieve what you want to do, Luna. It's okay. It's all right, darling. I hope that you're better and that you're getting stronger every day. So, those are your gifts. So knowing your accomplishments. And then genuinely, you can help someone else by walking the walk and talking the talk. That's what a lot of people tell me. Is there anybody here? This is doing this thing again. Anybody here? It says 0 there. Am I all by myself? See, there's the hearts. I wonder what is up with this. Because y'all see it, it's still saying 0. I don't know. This is so weird. I might have to ask YouTube what is going on with that. It's weird. All right. So then we can genuinely help somebody else, walking the walk and talking the talk. Like, that's why I'm able to help somebody. Hello, Luna. Am I helping you? I hope it's helping you. So we discuss how we were born worthy, remembering our childlike spirit, and recovering from those childhood wounds. Those wounds are typically what keep our central nervous system in overdrive. The live keeps restarting. That's so weird. Yeah, because can y'all hear me on here, or what's it doing? Because it will go to 0. It doesn't tell me that it's starting. My minutes are still counting, but it's so weird. Thank you for letting me know, Viola. Okay, thank you, Red Dragon. Okay, good, because I don't know what's happening there. So self-accountability helps you to feel comfortable in your own skin. Isn't that what we all want? Is that feeling of being comfortable in our own skin from within and not feeling like somebody's judging us, not feeling like somebody dislikes us, and giving all that our power. Hey, Kitan Patel, how are you? So here's the thing is self-accountability helps you to feel comfortable in your own skin, not hiding who you are, because as we talked about the good, the bad, the ugly, and owning it all and acknowledging that you are multifaceted, multidimensional. Good, thank you, John London. Yeah, because it's so weird. So that's the beautiful part, is getting to know, getting to that multidimensional world isn't always pretty. That's not always pretty to understand this multidimensional self that you are. Angela, hey, it's good to see you, darling. Multidimensional, because then we understand that we aren't as limited as we thought we were. Those are some of the lies that we tell ourselves, are these limitations. So getting to the multidimensional world isn't always pretty. Sometimes it's snot and it's tears and that grow our soul. It isn't always pretty. Divine order doesn't always feel good, and it's certainly not what we would picture being divine. So we forgive ourselves for the thoughts, the titles, and the roles that we gave ourselves. I'm talking about self-accountability this evening, Clorox. So the dismissal of our thoughts and the discard of our own feelings, because sometimes we've dismissed our own thoughts and discarded our own feelings, especially when we're trying to get in somebody else's brain. Divinity. We are born divine, y'all. We are born divine. So self-accountability is boring. Okay, well, if you don't want to stay, I totally understand. I hope you'll have a good evening anyway. That's what we're talking about. And you're welcome to stay, but that's what we're talking about. Salma, I haven't, to be honest. I've made up my mind. I don't know how. I don't know when. But I really hate to hear that, Salma. I hope you'll hang in here. We're going to do some balancing of chakras in a minute. Clorox, I'm going to give you one more warning, and then there you go. There you go. Thanks, Kim. Lee Smith, hello there. Carrie Fisher, I've been told that before, Lee Smith. So, Red Dragon. Yeah, I guess so, Red Dragon. Clorox is a good devil's advocate. Thank you very much, Katan. So, sometimes we've dismissed and discarded our own thoughts and feelings and whatever else we thought was wrong with us from the pain we received from someone else. Because other people, we have received pain because of other people, but we have to heal our own pain, because sometimes those people aren't going to heal our pain. They will be devastated, some. I really hope that you get some professional help, and we'll be praying for you here and sending you good vibes, because that's a terrible feeling, and I hope that you'll listen and stay, and it's something I say will help you, Lee. I'm not at all surprised how you are today. What's your stream about? I'm a mindset coach, a life coach, Lee Smith, and so what I try to do is offer us some different thoughts and perspectives on our lives, how we can live this life, because there's so much information and data coming at us, and so how we can live our lives. So, hello, Denise, Netherlands. Hello, welcome. We're talking about self-accountability, okay? Thank you, Lee. So, thank you very much, Denise. Denise 7. So in recovery, we call these things 4 through 9. When we get into self-accountability, we start learning, what is mine to own, where my pain come from. We write down, what's the pain that we had, what's the fear that we got from it, and then the shortcoming. And the shortcoming is, how do I behave? And taking responsibility for our behavior is what we've been talking about with self-accountability. But I'm not doing the steps with y'all. I'm just explaining that in 12-step groups, this is what they're talking about. And so we acknowledge where we were hurt, because we've all been hurt. And hurt calls for healing. How did you avoid accountability when you were codependent? I would think that people made me do certain things. I would get my feelings hurt, and I didn't tell people my feelings were hurt. It's my deal to tell people they shouldn't just know. But in codependency, hello, Jason Stillwell. I'm glad that you're here. In codependency, what we do is we say, well, they should know. We didn't give them the script, right? We don't give them the script. They shouldn't know because we have an expectation. So that's how I avoided self accountability in codependency, was having expectations, because I had scripts that people didn't have that was in my mind. And so having that thing, what I thought should be happening, without saying, this is what I would like, and this is, using my big girl words. So that was how I avoided accountability, was I didn't use my words. And then when something happened that I didn't like, it would be like, well, I thought this or I thought that. And well, you should know. That's what it sounds like. I can tell you that's what it sounds like. And I would be shooting on myself. I would be shooting on other people. That's what it sounds like, is when it's like, you should know. Or, this kind of thing. So I had to learn how to speak differently to myself and to other people. Was that helpful, Angela? I hope that answered that. Was thinking that people should know, not telling people what I want and need and desire, and not willing to look at that stuff myself, because a lot of times in codependency, we're telling people they should know, but when they get put on point to where it's like, well, what do you want to happen? And then they're like, well, I don't know, So we realize what our fears are, how they show up as shortcomings. That's our behavior. That's what shortcomings, or as somebody mentioned earlier, our sins, because we're all going to miss the mark. I like that somebody talked about the other evening, missing the mark, and that's what sin means in Greek. I believe it's Greek. So, Angela, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I hope that that that's exactly what it was those expectations. And so, So we realized maybe we harmed someone too, because this is the thing, as I talked about on Wednesday, this victim mentality. Is sometimes we grew up with a victim mentality. There were people who talked about that they learned that their parents were a victim, they're a victim, everybody's a victim. So we have to break that. We have to interrupt that pattern. We break cycles and interrupt these patterns, because sometimes it gets handed down. Pour me a drink. A lot of times in addiction recovery, alcohol and things like this. So it gets handed down, this victim mentality of somebody's out to get me. And we can really feel like in our central nervous system that somebody's out to get us. Sometimes it's just as simple as even driving your car. People will think somebody's trying to, pick a fight with them driving their car, and they don't even know them. I've ridden in the cars with sometimes people thinking, somebody cut in front of somebody because that's where they saw they could get in. And so they cut in front of somebody, and I'm riding in the car, and this dude's like, did you see that? And I'm like, I saw a person in a car. That's what I see. Because that's the reality. We don't know what that other person is thinking in the car. I had to learn that, because I too used to drive like, oh no, I'm going to go faster and you're not cutting me off. I used to do it too. But the reality is I'm a person in a car. Nobody knows me in another car. And there's other person's a person in the car, and I don't know them. Can we tell sometimes when someone's going to come in our lane? Yes, so what? Am I in that big of a hurry? And this is what I learned about myself. But when my central nervous system was running, when I was used to having to, then I would think, oh no, their time's not important than mine, right? And sometimes it's not, but sometimes it might be. So instead of trying to get in other people's heads, so we realized maybe we harmed someone too. I had a client last week, and he was talking about, he said, Miss Stacy, I'm making stuff up. I'm making shit up. And, there were some girls in the office that they gossip and talk about everybody in the office, and he was afraid they were gossiping and talking about him, and people were up. Hello, Dead Mike and Trey. People were up for a review, And so he's deciding that these girls are talking about him and he's afraid that it influences his review, and all of this. And then come to find out the girls are talking just because they're starting to get fired. All these gossip girls are starting to get fired. That's what the whole thing was about. So the thing is that sometimes we realize when I'm jealous of somebody, maybe they're jealous of me too. That's what I learned, you know. And sometimes if I think somebody's doing something, maybe they're afraid of me too. See, sometimes we get so stuck in our own minds that we don't realize that these stories that we make up, these lies that we make up, we don't even know, you know? We don't know. So we realize we may have harmed someone too and making amends. And I talked about making those amends being not just saying, I'm sorry, but saying, I regret that I thought this about you. I was jealous of somebody one time and I told her in front of a group of people because she introduced me when I was speaking. And I said, I was so jealous of you. And she's looking at me like, what, me? And I'm like, yeah, people respect that. A lot of people worry about getting respect, but people respect honesty. People will respect vulnerability. They don't necessarily think it's weak. Sometimes people don't understand vulnerability. And so I'm not saying to be vulnerable with everybody everywhere, but I was big enough to be able to handle saying, you know what, I was jealous of you, because I was jealous of her because she could read something and then recite things back to you. I was jealous because I was around longer than she was, and I couldn't remember those things. But I have my own different talents and gifts, and so it's okay, but I was jealous, and she was very surprised, and I just own that. That's owning it, was I healed it, I named it, I was jealous of her, I claimed it, I was jealous, and I blessed it. And it's like I prayed for her. I prayed for the way that I felt about her. Every time she got on my nerves, I would pray. And finally, the weight of that went away. It finally went away. And then she was the first person that I called when the tragedy hit me to pray for me, So we can evolve and change. We don't want to stay stuck if these thoughts and these ways don't serve us. So when we realize and name it, claim it, bless it, and let it go, take ownership, it heals our soul. So we realize we may have harmed someone too and make amends. Change of behavior, that's what the amends is, the change of behavior. Willing to change my thought and perspective about this situation and my behavior. It's not saying I'm sorry just to get somebody off of my butt. It's not just saying I'm sorry because it's the right thing to say, but I don't know how to express it. Because when we learn how to express it to ourselves, to do these apologies for the lies we tell ourselves, we're going to learn to be able to own it and apologize to somebody else without cowering. Because how many people apologize and then cower and feel like a whipped puppy? You don't need to feel like a whipped puppy to make an amends. It's just owning it. I regret my behavior and I'm really working on it, because sometimes it's not going to be fixed just like that, so I'm really working on it, and hopefully you're working with somebody to work on it. Hi, you're Andrew. That's a long name. Hello, Graham. I'm going to let Kim deal with you because I don't even know what that is. So change of behavior, and we can all change our behavior, because when we're thank you, JR. Because when we're thrown off with other people, sometimes it's touching something inside of us. Most people give fake apologies and never change their behavior. A lot of people don't, but I still try to see the good in people, and I really don't have that many people that have to apologize to me. I don't demand apologies anymore. I used to want apologies, but I've learned that sometimes the people that wronged us may never know. That's not their journey. Whatever wrong I feel that I've gotten, it's my journey to heal that, because no one else is going to heal it. Even an apology can't heal it. Like you said, if it's a fake apology, even an apology can't heal it. And so, healing it has to be an inside job for me, because maybe they're never going to apologize. And even if they do, it might be fake. but healing what the action, the power or the pain that the action brought onto me. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that person gets to still have a front row seat in my life. Oh, no, no, that doesn't mean that. It means that I'm not going to carry the power of their pain, because usually hurt people, and I'm not going to carry the power of their pain with me. I'm going to heal my own pain. I can't heal their pain, but I can heal my own pain. But I have to process it, because sometimes when we feel pained by someone else, it might have been a prior pain, is what I was talking about earlier. It might have been a prior pain that went somewhere else. So making amends to ourselves is important. It's really important to make that amends to ourselves, is that it's a component to this. So we have, okay, thank you, Kim. So let me find my spot. In essence, we can't hurt ourselves without hurting somebody else. Remember what I said? Hurt people, hurt people. So we can't hurt ourselves without hurting somebody else. When we say, yeah. And sometimes you get people who say they're sorry all the time, because I've worked with people who always say they're sorry, and it's low self-esteem issue, is that they just learned to say I'm sorry because they felt like everything was their fault. So there's everything can go from one degree to the other. So there's some that they say they're sorry all the time. They feel like everything's their fault. They apologize for a lot of stuff. So I have to teach them not to say they're sorry all the time. And then, see, I don't have that experience. There's people that, bump into me in a market. That's a popular, polite way, is if somebody bumps into you at a market or bumps into you on the street, most of the time they do apologize and say, oh, sorry. And that's legitimate, I'm sorry. When people hurt us, there are people. I had a boss, my last boss, they didn't apologize, and that's okay. Because I don't have to go to bed with that. I don't go to bed with that, It does suck that they can't acknowledge, but there's some people that their pain is so deep that they're not going to admit they're wrong. See, that's where it comes from, right, Angela? Is they don't want to admit a wrong. So they don't want to say, I'm sorry. So there are some people there's a lot of people who run around and they don't want to admit they're wrong, and that might, include an apology. So, yeah, I see what y'all are saying. Yeah. JR, everyone seems to have law school credentials. I know, and I had to learn that too, because this man hurt my feelings one time at a job, JR. This is how I learned it, y'all. This man hurt my feelings one time at a job, and I was crying. The next day he comes in, he says, I'm sorry you got upset about the way that I did this. He didn't really sound like he was apologizing to me. What I thought that was a sideways apology is, I'm sorry you felt the way you did about when I said this. It wasn't him apologizing for his behavior. He was apologizing that he was sorry I felt bad about the way he come off at me crossways. So I go to my I don't think she was my sponsor. I call this lady up, and I'm like, yeah, he apologized, but he gave me a sideways apology. And she said, Stacy, we don't get to choose the way somebody apologizes to us. I'm like, oh, okay then. All right. So I have to learn that, his behavior isn't a reflection of who I am. And I cannot like him. It doesn't mean I have to hate him or that I have to give him any power. And that's what I did, was I was just like, okay. Because some people aren't going to apologize. Some people are committed to being right. And like John London said earlier, we just need to be quiet with those people, because that's a waste of our energy to even tell them. Yes, I already told you, yes, my feelings did get hurt. I don't even remember what he hurt my feelings about. This is, yeah, exactly. A lot of people want to be right and win absolutely, Angela. They sure do. So that's the thing is, what are we going to hold on to? I don't give that man the power. I don't even remember what he said that made me upset, because he don't get to have power over me. So we are not perfect. We just try to be better. And growth is a process and not an event. It's a process. It's peeling back layers. You know, we heal in different levels and different layers. Jason Stillwell, I've learned that unless I'm willing to say I'm sorry for doing whatever I did, don't apologize, because absolutely, Jason, I love that you said that. And that's exactly true, because if we just say I'm sorry as a blanket statement, we're going to do it again. But if we say what we did, then we're going to actually try to amend that behavior, amend what it was that hurt somebody, because we're human. Sometimes we may hurt somebody, not intentionally, but to be able, when we see the shock or the pain on somebody's face, then to be able to amend, what we did, if it, and being able to look at our behavior. JR, the world seems too defensive and everyone knows too much. Let's learn to navigate. Exactly. That's what I get on here for, is so we can quit trying. A lot of the world has learned to anticipate and strategize, and that's what really keeps a lot of those central nervous systems running on high alert, and that ready to defend themselves, because there's adults who are afraid of getting in trouble with other adults, and giving them power over them. And remembering that we are all adults. This is what I love about this community and everyone here, is that we get to, talk honestly and openly and adult-wise. So thank y'all. Thank you all for your questions, Angela, and your comments, John London and Kim and Joseph and Red Dragon. And, thank you. Luna, if she's still here. Yeah, so thank y'all. Am I missing anybody? Mama, I don't know if Mama's still here. So, in review this evening. So tonight wasn't really about finding another thing that's wrong with us. It was about slowing down long enough to ask a different question. Why did I do that? Not just why did I do that? And when we ask why did I do that, not beating ourselves up. You're very welcome, Angela. It's always a pleasure for you to be here. So we need to ask ourselves not only why did I do that, but why did that make sense to me? Hello, Ned Ocampo, Jason Stillwell. But I especially hate when people say, I'm sorry if blank made you upset, because that isn't an apology. It's blaming you for their wrong. Exactly. It's a sideways apology. And that's what I was saying about that man. That's what I told that lady is, yeah, he apologized, but it was sideways, because my feelings were hurt. I was crying, And she's like, Stacy, we don't get to choose, because like Angela was saying earlier, that some people they don't have the capacity to understand or try to understand another person's feelings. I think that's why that one prayer says, to understand rather than be understood. That, in the Beatitudes, the prayer of St. Francis, to be understood than, to be understand. I just said it. So anyway, to ask ourselves, why did that make sense to me? Because if we're honest, most of us aren't walking around thinking, today I'm going to sabotage myself. I talked earlier about, are you feeling it? F-I-L-L-I-N-G, to heal it? Food, cigarettes, alcohol, shopping? Or are you feeling it? Growing through those feelings. Salma, at first I used to be scared of it, but now the idea brings me peace. It's going to end soon and I will be at peace. Well, I really hate to hear that, Salma. I thought you were going to go to the doctor tomorrow. Okay. All right, well, hang in here. We're going to do some chakra balancing soon. Some people don't have empathy and they will never apologize. That's so true. It's true, Angela. Some people will never apologize. And even more insulting is that some people, not only will they not apologize for the pain they cause you, they'll turn around and play the victim, right? This happened with somebody I used to work with. It's like, they did a lot of stuff, and then now they turn around and act like they're a victim, like people are persecuting them, and it's like, no, we just want, no. So, yeah. So then they'll turn around and act like a victim, some of the people who won't apologize. So we're not walking around thinking today I'm going to sabotage myself. We don't wake up wanting to repeat unhealthy patterns. Most of the time we're simply reacting from something that we learned long before we knew we had another choice. We just didn't learn another way to be. Exactly. They will blame you for their hurt. I know, right? It's throwed off. There's some people that will just be throwed off. And we just like, have you heard of the book Let Them by Mel Robbins, Angela? It's like, just let them. Just let them. Because I get to go to bed at night, not, knowing that I've done the best that I can in the course of my day and didn't hurt people and their children and their families and things like this, that I didn't gaslight somebody, So, yeah, not that they care when they go to bed if they gaslit somebody. I know they don't care, but still. Yes, you should give it one last shot to see a doctor. I really do think so, Selma. Joseph Leon, no one is unloved. Absolutely, Joseph Leon, no one is unloved. So most of the time, we're simply reacting from something we learned long before we knew we had another choice, right? So I know that's been true for me. So when I began doing my work, I realized that I had reasons for so many things that I did, and those reasons weren't excuses, they were clues. Selma, healing is an inside job, and you know what? What if there's an afterlife? Let me explain this, Selma. What if there's an afterlife, and whatever it is in this life that's making you so miserable, what if when we're born, because we don't know, what if we're born, we come, thank you, Angela. What if when we're born in our next life, we come back into the same struggles and obstacles because we're meant to overcome these struggles and obstacles, and you can do it. I have faith in you, Selma, that you can overcome these struggles and obstacles, but you have to want to. So when I began doing my own work, I realized I had reasons for so many things that I did, and those reasons weren't excuses, they were clues. They showed me where I was hurting. So when we're hurt, we get to look at where am I hurting, not just pointing the finger at they did that. Where am I hurting? Thank y'all. I appreciate that, Viola and Angela. And so they showed me what I believed, with this pain. The pain showed me what I believed. The pain also showed me what I had been protecting. And once I understood that, I couldn't unknow it. So that was what helped me to name it. That's where self-accountability really began for me, not by blaming myself, but by becoming honest enough to stop arguing with my truth. John London, are you still awake and with us? So become honest enough to stop arguing with my truth. I often say that awareness gives us choice. It's the remover of obstacles. And so if I don't know why I keep doing something, I'll probably keep repeating it, just like Jason Stilwell was saying. When we make an amends, we need to say what we're apologizing for, or we'll keep repeating that behavior. Thank you. Thank you. There they are, the little beads. So they're wooden beads. Some, to be real with you, when you said, but you got to want to, it resonated to me. I've given up completely, therefore I see no light at the end of the tunnel. If I really wanted it, I would find a way. Well, I hope you find a way to really want to stay here. So if I don't know why I keep doing something, I'll probably keep repeating it. Oopsie. Okay. But once I begin to understand, I have an opportunity. I can keep defending it, or I can become curious enough to choose something different. As if we want something different, we have to choose something different. We can't keep, sitting around doing the same thing. Thank you, Selma. I'm glad you're going to go to the doctor. So it doesn't happen overnight. We can't just say, okay, I'm going to think this way, or I'm going to be this way. It doesn't. You're welcome. It doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. You're very welcome, Selma. You take care of yourself, and I hope that you're going to go to that doctor tomorrow. because depression, you can get some medicines, and I think probably getting an antidepressant. I know I was on Lexapro and Lexapro the first one, and Wellbutrin the second one. So it doesn't happen overnight. It happens one honest moment at a time. And maybe that's all self-accountability really is, not becoming perfect, because we're all perfectly imperfect and specially unspecial. Okay, Nato, I'm glad you're going to be okay too. Okay. So just becoming honest enough with ourselves that we stop needing to defend the things that keep us from the freedom that we say we want. So I've come to believe that self-accountability is one of the greatest components of freedom. Not because it blames us, but because it gives us our power back. Self-accountability gives us our power back. The moment I stop asking, whose fault is this, right? It's just, what's the solution? What is the solution to this? Not whose fault it is, because there's no power in finding out whose fault it is, really. So we can start asking, what is mine? What did I do? And remember that I have these choices. So we're about to get into the breathing. We're about to do a little bit of the chakra balance, and I just want you to think about that. And so before we get into the breathing and chakra balance, and that's going to be a treat tonight, the chakra balance. And so, a question rather than an answer. What if the behavior you've been judging about yourself has a story? Because sometimes people judge themselves for their behavior. So what if the behavior you're judging behind about yourself has a story? When you blame other people for your mistake, you never learn and grow. Absolutely not. Yes, thank you, Viola. Thank you for reminding them to like and subscribe and hit the notification. I'll be back here Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for story time. So not to excuse, when we look at our behavior, we don't want to excuse it. We don't want to justify it. We just want to understand it. Because understanding ourselves is more important than you trying to understand someone else at first. Understanding why, the lies underneath our whys. Because is it true? I've learned in my own life that when I stop asking what's wrong with me, I started asking, why did this make sense to me? And everything began to change that's why I like to help people make it make sense, because I have to make it make sense. And so that didn't remove my responsibility, but it actually deepened it, is that I knew what is mine. When I first got in recovery, my sponsor would say to me, well, honey, what was your part in it? So then I started thinking everything was my fault. And then I had to learn, I had hormonal chemical, problems and at one point in my life. And then I had to learn, I'm just hormonal. And my coach was like, well, Stacy, what would it be like if you weren't hormonal? Would this still bother you? And I had to learn that, yes, the things would still bother me, but I didn't know how to handle them, so I blamed it on hormones. So I had to learn how to speak my big girl words and handle it and say my truth, be vulnerable, and not in a defensive way. To say my truth is this is why I feel this way. It may or may not be on point or right, but I'm feeling this way. And so we could discuss it, because if you're in a partnership, that's two, or whatever it is. And sometimes you can't. Angela's right. You can't discuss it with everybody. Not everybody's will understand your vulnerability. And some people in jobs don't even think you should be able to have, so it just depends. So if you all are, connecting with this content and it resonates with you, please, hit that like and subscribe button. And so I could continue defending it, or I could begin choosing differently. So that's what self-accountability has become for me. Not carrying blame and not trying to be perfect, as I'm not trying to carry blame and I'm not trying to be perfect and not proving that I'm good enough. You don't have to prove that you're good enough. You are good enough. So it's being honest enough to say, I understand why I learned this, and now I get to decide what belongs in my life. And maybe that's where your freedom really is, being comfortable in your own skin from within, not changing the past and not pretending that it didn't happen, but not allowing the past to make every decision for you today. When you blame yourself, your self-esteem takes a hit. Absolutely. I've explained before that even, yeah, thank you. So as we move into our breathing tonight, we're going to breathe a little bit, then I'll guide us through chakras a little bit. So don't try to fix anything. Just notice. Notice what comes up for you. I'm going to close the cage because Grinch will attack me when I do chakras because he has to control things. He's got control issues. So as we move into our breathing, don't try to fix anything. Just notice what came up for you tonight. Did any of you resonate with this tonight? People who are honest with themselves who aren't honest with themselves can't be honest with other people either. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're even lying to ourselves when you are very welcome, Viola. We're lying to ourselves when we get a compliment and we don't believe the compliment because the compliment is ours. Somebody gave you the compliment. And you're dismissing and discarding it if you refuse to accept it. I got a compliment tonight. John Lennon complimented my hair. You girls, Viola and Angela, complimented my earrings. So we just say thank you. Okay. So notice what questions might have stayed with you tonight. Notice where you became curious. And sometimes awareness doesn't arrive with a loud voice. Sometimes it whispers. So if something even whispered to you tonight, don't rush past it. Sit with it, breathe with it. Because I found that when we stop defending ourselves long enough to listen, we often discover that the truth isn't there to hurt us. The truth isn't here to hurt you. So let us set ourselves free and breathe and have that freedom. So I promised y'all chakra balance. And so chakra balance, and what we're going to do is I'll just give you a visualization because we were talking to Salma about going out in nature, and John London was talking about going out in nature. And nature is very important to healing because in this world today, sometimes we don't know what's real and what's not real, but nature is real and nature is so necessary and important for us. And so I don't know who Jeff Buckley is, I don't think. So nature is so real and important for us. You are very welcome, Angela. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the interesting questions. So, just so you get an idea about Reiki. Now, I do Reiki on people in person with my hands on Reiki, but I also am going to guide y'all through just getting in your body. So we're going to start with the breathing with like 3 breaths. And then I'm going to guide you through this. If you have essential oil by you, you can use that because kind of what I guide us through in this. Have any of you ever heard of Reiki? He sang this. The song goes, I feel too young to hold on and much too old to break free and run too deaf, dumb, and blind to see the damage I've done. I'm sure I've heard that song. I can't remember. Red Dragon, never heard it. Okay. Y'all rub your hands together whether you got oil or not. Take some deep breaths while you rub your hands together. So take a deep breath in. Hold it. And release. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. We'll breathe again at the end of this. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Now we're going to start backwards, okay? So we're going to start at the top of your head. Rub your hands together right quick. I can't even see what does that say. Rub your hands together. And they should build a friction up. But when I'm doing this online, I suggest to people that your left hand is your human beingness. It's hooked, it goes to your heart. And your heart can be connected to your source, your vital life force. So what if when we trust in something else, power greater than yourself, I'm not saying who, what, when, or where, or how, but, just imagining that, going to your heart, that heart energy. And then your right hand being your human doingness. So these are with your lower chakras is your right hand, and your left hand is your upper chakras. So that's connected with spirit. So Let's put your hands on your head, and now with that friction in between, give your brain a hug, because I'm sure your brain is tired from this week. Do you feel that energy between the palms of your hands soaring through your mind? And just sitting still with that energy, that power that you have in your own hands. And then feeling your fingertips at the top of your skull. And this is your spiritual chakra. And it's white. It's like an illuminated white light. And so just imagining that illuminated white light like the moon and like clouds. So as your thoughts come through, just like releasing them like the clouds float by in the sky, knowing that your brain has the capacity for so much. And the moon is there, and the moon is going through phases, but it's always there sustaining us and taking care of us, giving us rest. And so it's peace-filled, relaxing. Just the clouds and the moon. So then we're going to move down and cover our physical eyes. The physical eyes that sometimes tell us lies. Sometimes we look at people and judge people and we don't know them. Sometimes we look at things and look at ourselves and judge ourselves, and maybe we don't even know ourselves. But this is your intuitive chakra. And this is purple, like the royalty that you are. You were born divine, you were born worthy, and you have a divine mind. Your intuition is connected with your hypothalamus, pituitary, and pineal glands, which are right there behind. But when we close our eyes, we're willing to see our visions and goals and dreams and be divinely guided to them intuitively. We let go of those expectations that are in the back of our mind and let the intuitions run, the divine mind. So then just kind of massage over your brow and then to your temple. Just letting the energy between your fingertips go and give you new sight to see as Source would have you see, to see with that divine mind where to go, what to say, and what to do, and who, with that intuition. And then just pat, the front here, open your nostrils some so that you can smell the sweetness of this life. Smell the goodness that there is. Then follow your jawbone back to your ears, and then just kind of give your ears a little tug to open them up so that when you can hear the sounds of harmony, birds singing, children laughing, music playing. And then just give yourself a little massage around your mouth for how it helps you to communicate and eat and nurture yourself. Then go back to the back of your neck with your fingertips touching there, and then just kind of give yourself a little rub down your spine there, releasing all that stuff in the back of your mind that no longer serves you. Let it go down your backbone, down to the bottom. And then hold your neck right here. This chakra is blue, that truth chakra. So picture it as deep as the sea and as expansive as the sky with that blue. And that's what your truth is. You have more truth than you even know. That unlimited truth. You are multifaceted and multidimensional and so capable. So sometimes we tell ourselves those lies that come down through our neck. So that's what we are cleaning out of our neck, allowing it to start flowing, those good secretions, those good hormones, and those things that get stopped up when we lie to ourselves. And then we go down to our heart chakra. That heart chakra is in the center of the human being and the human doingness. And so that chakra is green for growth. Love, because love never dies, and it does continue to grow from the ground to the skies. Some people say as is above is so below. So last night in our talk, we talked about how your backbone, how all of this, they call this part of your body the trunk. And so we're going down, picturing this as part of the top of a treetop with your branches reaching up to the sky, your arms, but you're holding onto your leaves right now in your heart. And allowing your heart to expand and grow. Because as we go down to the next one above our belly button, that's our solar plexus. And that chakra is the sunshine. So the treetop needs the sunshine to shine on it. It needs the water from the sea, and it needs the blue to the sky as the branches reach up high. But at the solar plexus, I like to think, because it says solar plexus, and the sun is also considered soul down here in Mexico. So I like to think that's where our soul sits by our ego, because this is your ego chakra, a bright golden yellow, like the sun. That the sun shines us all on everyone. And it is indicative of our growth. Things grow under the sunlight, and you're growing under the sunlight too. The sunlight of the spirit. The ego gives you your drive, and the soul gives you your direction. So with this light, with the warmth and protection, because we're still here. We're still here, so we are safe. And as we go down below our belly button, that's our next chakra, and that chakra is orange. Like the sunrise and the sunset, we're still here. And it's so peaceful to see the sunrise and the sunset, the waking of a new day and the relaxing, the sun and the moon, the rising and the resting, and those relationships, that relationship chakra right here, your sacral chakra, connected with all your relationships and the relationships that you have with yourself and the relationship you have with your source is indicated of everyone else. So nurturing, loving the relationships as the sun rises and the sun sets. And then going on down to the next one. Right below that chakra, at the pelvic area, the top of your legs where you're setting, as that chakra is grounded, you're being grounded. That is your root chakra. So just imagining from that tree that's rising up to the heart, that's your roots being planted in the ground where we get sustained. Our gravity comes from our standing. Everything that we have, the food that we eat comes from that grounding, being grounded. So it does matter what we eat, what we put in our body. We're absorbing things through the roots, absorbing things through the ground. That electromagnetic field where there's positive and negative, and we can heal. So as I say, everything that ascends descends, and everything that descends ascends. So we want to rise back up from our roots as we're coming up from the red or the brown. That's what color that chakra is. We're rising up to the orange, because everything's in right and divine order as we rise. When we feel safe, that grounded chakra helps us to feel safe, because roots in the ground are very stable and safe. So we rise up to the sunrise and sunset, the orangeness, and then we rise up to the golden yellow, because everything is in divine order, red, orange, yellow, up to the ego and the soul. With that driving direction, with our heart being open, knowing that we have full protection. We are protected. We see where we're going. And we're open like the leaves of the trees. And we're expanding on up to our truth, as deep as the sea and as expansive as the sky. Remembering that there's so much more to us than we even know. And then going up to the next one, covering up our eyes, remembering the royalty that we are, the divinity that we are, no more, no less than one another. And then we finally rise up to the spiritual chakra. We all have a spirit within us, and we all have a light within us, that illuminated white light, and we get to shine. We get to shine. And so it is in these lives that we live. Did I woo-woo y'all out? Are you still here? Are you still here? Are y'all ready to breathe now? You sleepy? Hello? Good night, Angela. Good night. We're going to take 3 breaths. Did you enjoy that, Viola? It just kind of puts us back to center, back into nature, and remembering who we are and that we're a part of everything. You are magnificent. You are very welcome. I hope y'all enjoyed it. JR, what'd you think? Was it too woo-woo? Raven, you made it. Yes, we're going to do the breathing. I don't know if Mom's still on here, Raven. I don't know if she went to sleep, but we are about to do some breathing. All right, JR. I just thought I would introduce something, that would help you to relax and to remember that we're connected to all of this and that we're all growing. We are growing like that tree trunk, okay? So let's just take a deep breath in, remembering to breathe in freedom. So breathe. Hold it. And release. Breathe in, fill up your tummy. Open your heart and hold it. Release. Breathe. Hold it. And release. Just 2 more. Breathe in. Hold it. Release. Last one. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. You felt the energy holding your 2 hands together? Yes, yes. I hope you all feel so relaxed before you go to bed. And that energy is amazing to just we have so much capacity to heal ourselves. We do. And sometimes we get by with a little help from our friends. So thank you all for being my friends this evening and being here. You are very welcome, Angela. Thank you, everyone here, and everyone who's been in here. And so if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you need one-on-one sessions, my email is in the description. And also, I will be here Sunday at 9 a.m. So I hope to see you then. All righty, JR. You take care too, JR. Thank you so much. Thank y'all. I love y'all. And I can't think of a better way than to spend my Friday night. So thank you for being here, everyone. All right. Y'all ready to go sleep? Thank you. Thank you. You're very welcome, Raven. I'm glad you could make it. I hope you get some blessed and regenerated rest. I hope you all get some blessed and regenerated rest. Yes, it is the best Friday night, isn't it? I love my Friday nights with y'all. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you Sunday. If any of you have an idea for a topic you ever want me to talk about, please feel free to give me a comment on one of the things that I post or to tell me here, okay? Because, what we find is we do get by with a little help from our friends, and a lot of times you know, some people might be struggling with something, and other people typically might be too, because we do get to realize how connected we are here. All right. So take care, all of you. Thank you so much. I'll see you Sunday, okay? All right. Okay, Grinch, you're going to come out and tell everybody good night. Let's see if Grinch will come tell y'all good night. You be blessed too, JR. Thank you so much. I think John London went to sleep on us. He's not feeling well. He's under the weather. So, thank y'all. Kim, are you still here? Is that you? Good night, y'all. Thank you so much. It's hard to leave when I'm seeing all the hearts and things. Getting hyped up. You gonna say good night? Come here. Come tell everybody good night. Come here. Come here. Come here. He's going back to bed. All right. What if I tap? You want me to tap? Huh? You're gonna come get me? What if I do chakras? There he is. There he is. See, I told y'all he had control issues. Sweet dreams, Raven. And Grinch says good night. There we go. There we go. Yeah. Say good night. All right. Thank y'all. I love you, and y'all sleep well. All right. Yes, Angela says good night, Grinch. All right. Good night, y'all.